The Rebel Capitalist Show.
Tell us about a plan B. I mean, the Americans now, or people watching this video, are just saying to themselves, oh my gosh, I don't like what's happening in my local area. Whether it's the United States, Canada, Australia, Europe, that's the majority of my viewers. And I want, I can't just get up and move, but I want to have some sort of backup plan. And I hear this all the time. So what would you suggest the first steps people take to set up a plan B?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And it's a very important thing to think about. And I think more and more people are realizing this now, especially with this, pandemic global deep state takeover, where it's really shocking how globally effective this has been and how few areas there are where you have freedom of movement and where it's not really scary. So if you think about what that means, is like, they can lock you down and worse at any moment. So to have flexibility to go elsewhere on the globe, what do you need for that? Number one is you need access to your capital. So what that means as the very first step, and anybody has to have that at this stage, is you need to have at least a bank account outside of the country where you live and where you're a citizen, not to hide any capital, but just to guarantee you access to it. So to basically deny your government access to it, that would be a step one to protect your capital. Now, to improve that even further, I would say put part of your assets into crypto. That's the ultimate sovereign money, the ultimate protection. So you need the flexibility with your money on one hand, but then on the other hand, you also need to be legally allowed to enter another country. And the only way you can do that during times of where they might lock down at any moment is if you're either a citizen or a resident. So what that means is you should get a residency permit in another place that you like, ideally in multiple places that you like. So if there is another lockdown coming, and it's a very serious possibility, then you can take a flight or a train or a bus, whichever way that gets you there. And then when you show up at the border, you are allowed to enter. If you show up as a tourist, you will be denied entry. But if you're a resident of the place, you're allowed in. So it makes a lot of sense to have a plan B and a plan C and a plan D, and to have a few residence permits, or even better, if you can afford it, it's usually more expensive and takes more time. A citizenship in another country with another passport gives you even more freedom. So that is basically a 21st century life insurance policy, because things can get bad and ugly really quickly. And this is your ticket out of there.
Yeah, and I like what you said about the spreadsheet. When you set that up, I think that's a great idea. Just set up a spreadsheet on the, through your Google research on the places where you would like to spend some time, maybe just 20 places where you think the governments aren't too draconian, where you might be able to get a residency, might be able to get a bank account. And don't make any big commitment. Just try to, over the next couple of years, travel to those, maybe not 20 places, but maybe 5 places or 10 places, something like that, when you take your vacations. And then just when you're there, boots on the ground, see if you like it. And if you like it, then maybe go ahead and move forward, or put that higher up on your list. So when you get done, you've got 3 or 4 areas where you're ready to go ahead and pull the trigger and make something happen. And then those are areas where you'd really enjoy spending some time if you had to just kind of get out of Dodge for a while because things were getting a little crazy.
Yeah, that's very good advice, because if you look at it, unfortunately, most people, they act like a tree with roots in the ground, and they don't really explore this big planet that's available to us. I mean, a lot of Americans especially don't even have passports. I mean, that to me is like a nightmare situation.
And they wait till it's too late.
They couldn't even go somewhere if they wanted to. And what you said is right. You first need to go to a place, because a lot of this comes down to personal preference. You might come to Medellin and hate it. I mean, I love it, but maybe it's not for you. Maybe your preferences are completely different. So you need to go out and explore and see what you like. And this is really step one.
Yeah, and people get too reactionary, or they don't plan enough. They think, well, I'm not going to do that. It's not that bad right now. I'm going to wait until, but they never draw a line in the sand. Yeah, I think that's very important. People should draw a line in the sand and say, okay, if the government does this, I'm gone. Or at least I'm going to take action on my plan B. Because if you don't do that, then you're like the frog being boiled. And I think you would agree that if you're in a country, it's very difficult to see how quickly things are changing for the worse because you kind of get acclimated to it. But when you leave for a year or 2 years or 3 years and come back, it's like looking at yourself in the mirror. You're like, what on earth just happened here? This is crazy. Can't everyone else that's here see the dramatic changes that have occurred over the last 5 years? And why aren't they doing anything about it? So I think that's why it's important for people to make a list of things that if this happens, if I see a wealth tax in the United States, that's the line in the sand for me, to make it less of an emotional thing and make it more just a structured process.
Yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, we're already a mile past the line in the sand, right? I mean, we're already living in a nightmare situation. So what are you waiting for, people? Wake up. I mean, I don't know what it is, but if you look historically, the majority of the people have always acted like sheep, and they were slaughtered. I mean, just look at history, read a history book, and everything is out in the open. It's so transparent. You just got to open your mind and open your eyes and look around and see what's going on. I mean, really, what are you waiting for? It's 12 already.